In the oral argument, the Solicitor General said their position is that 30-day period had not started because the lower courts had enjoined the executive order before it went into effect. And so therefore, there will be at least a 30-day period before the executive order is allowed to go into effect. And again, during that period, it's likely that lower courts will be determining whether the states, in order to remedy the harms that this order causes them, can receive nationwide relief. I just want to note the Democratic appointees' strong dissents in this case. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson calls the court's decision.
You notice how they always pivot to that? Hey, let me just tell you what the losers had to say. There's a reason why when they go into losers' locker rooms in a game, it's pretty much inconsequential to the point where they hardly ever show anymore. What do you want to see people sitting around crying and moping? But MSNBC, okay, I just want to highlight what the losers said. Again, if you're a newcomer here, that ain't going to help you. You knowing what the losers had to say doesn't help your plight right now. It's a waste of your time. Your freedom is at risk. 30 days. Okay, hold on, 30 days. We might be able to do something because the losers on the Supreme Court said this or that. They're going to promise you the world because please don't leave. Please, please, please don't leave. We need you. We need your body for the census. We need you to vote illegally. They're not looking out for your best interests. Go home. Or wherever you need to go, but you can't stay here. That's what we're trying to tell you. These people have been lying to you for quite some time. And obviously, they're going to continue lying to you.
Existential threat to the rule of law. Justice Sotomayor's dissent says no right is safe in the new legal regime the court creates. She calls the court complicit in a grave attack on our system of law. The reality is the Supreme Court's Republican justices took away lower courts' single powerful tool, the most powerful tool for reining in the Trump administration.
That's your problem. They didn't take away the lower court's tool to rein in President Trump. They stopped them from breaking the law. If it's illegal for district court judges to try and step in and take over the country by usurping the president, all they did was say, no, you can't do that. It's against the law. I don't give a crap if you thought it was a great tool for stopping President Trump, which that's all it was. Everything with these people in law, it's tools. It's an agenda to try and stop Trump. Notice what she said there. That's very important when you listen to what these people say. They took away a very effective tool to stop Trump. She didn't say they took away a very effective tool to help these people stay in America. Again, if you're listening and you're not from here, that was her focus, her words. Their idea was to stop Trump. They don't give a crap about you. You're the tool. You're the actual widget that they were using to try and stop Trump. You've been played. That's all. Played.
And holding them accountable to the law.
Chuck, let me get your reaction. This sounds like a giant win for the Trump administration and could likely trigger chaos now across the country.
Trigger chaos in the blue states. Oh my gosh. This is amazing. I know I stop a lot because I have to. Because of what they say, you have to listen what the words that they're saying and how they say it. I want to show you something. You want to hear some of this chaos? Let me show you some of the chaos that's happening right now. Massive chaos going on. Markets are exploding. S&P 500 hits new record heights. Everything is green. Look at the chaos. Look how that chaos is affecting you right now. Your chaos is actually profitable for you. This chaos is actually going to provide prosperity for you. one of the biggest, I was going to cover this in the show, but I guess this is the show at this point. Oh, my goodness. One of the economists who bashed the tariffs has now said, I think Trump played us all. Yeah, he said that. This is just fun.
Let me address the second point first, Anna. And since you have Leah and Lisa on, I'm not sure why you would ask me anything. They're both way smarter than me, but it strikes me.
You're all brilliant.
Well, I'll prove otherwise in a moment, Anna. But it strikes me that now individual plaintiffs in almost 100 separate federal judicial districts can seek individual relief. If a federal district court judge in Seattle can't enjoin nationwide President Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship, but could only do so in the Western District of Washington where he sits, then similarly situated plaintiffs, women who would give birth to a child who would otherwise be a U.S. citizen, could bring suit in Maine and in Vermont and in the Northern District of Florida and everywhere in the country. And right now you have, in my view, binding Supreme Court precedent from an 1898 case that says these women would win. This is a procedural decision from the Supreme Court. It's not a substantive decision on the underlying executive order. It does strip from federal judges, Anna, a lot of power that was exercised increasingly over the last 2, 3, 4 decades against presidents of both parties. And it was clear to me from the argument that a number of the more conservative justices were going to go exactly this way, that they were opposed to this notion of a single federal judge having nationwide injunctive powers. They didn't like the notion of judge shopping, that an aggrieved plaintiff would bring a case in a district that best suited him or her. But will there be more chaos? There'll be more cases, Anna, and whether or not you think of that as chaos, I'll leave that to you. But I think more individual plaintiffs will bring more individual cases seeking similar relief.
Well, the reason I ask Chuck about the chaos is I'm trying to envision a situation in which you have to have a case, you have to bring your own case in order to get the relief, right? So if you are a person who is in this country right now in a state that wants to enforce Trump's executive order banning birthright citizenship, and you're an immigrant and you have a child, what does that mean for this child in that state compared to what it means for a child who's born in another state?
Right. So right now, arguably, children in certain states, and I think this was Lisa's point, have protections that children in other states in 30 days may not. And I take your point, Anna. It's going to require other plaintiffs to come forward and to seek injunctive relief. It doesn't mean everybody in the Northern District of Florida or in the Western District of Texas or in the Eastern District of New York has to file a lawsuit. But it does mean that lawsuits have to be filed in all of these jurisdictions because you.
So he just gave you their next plan. Their plan is to flood the zone with as many lawsuits as they possibly can, which is going to drain their banks. Their donors are going to have to keep doing all these things over and over and over, every single person, and dragging these newcomers into lawsuits across the country. Can you see the logistical nightmare of this? In addition to everything else, now they want to use these people as pawns to try and somehow keep this going. So they're going to drag little Jimmy, I won't use a racial name, use Jimmy and say, Jimmy, we need you to sue this so we could. Whereas Jimmy, you better start thinking about your future and your future with your family. They don't care about you. They're telling you straight up. We just need to figure out a way so we can just keep doing this. They're not going to stop. But this is going to make it extremely hard for them, and it's going to make it extremely hard because they don't even have a basis at this point. These people are desperate.
No longer, at least according to the Supreme Court, for individual plaintiffs, have nationwide injunctive relief available to similarly situated plaintiffs, similarly situated mothers and their children. And so, yes, it invites a lot more litigation in a lot more places, and I think perhaps fairly characterized as more chaos.
I mean, even Justice Kavanaugh asked during the oral arguments, what do hospitals do with a newborn? What do states do with a newborn? Justice Gorsuch pointed at the patchwork problem that this could create. Leah, is there any resolution that is within this opinion that you're reading through?
I think this opinion is going to create additional legal questions for lower court.
Okay, so they don't have the answers. They will try over the next couple of, weeks or whatever to try and come up with something. They figure, in their mind, they're thinking, well, we got 30 days. We can figure this out in 30 days. And we just need to drag these plaintiffs all across the country. We need to expose them to ICE. They are not thinking about these individual people. The one thing I wanted you to get from that clip is they are not at all talking about the interest of the actual newcomers. That's a misnomer. It's complete BS at this point. And now they're going to be struggling. How do we sue? Who's going to be the plaintiff? How do we get these people? The quality of life is just gone. I can't imagine what you're doing to the life of these people. Simply because now you have no way out and you're trying to figure out what to do. Well, let me show you this next piece. I think this is the same lady. All right, so this is on CNN.
I just want to get your sense on this, because in this particular case in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is right outside of where we are right now, Washington, D.C., these public schools, the elementary kids, if the teacher wanted to read something, have them read something about LGBTQ plus individuals, their parents, in this particular case, whether Muslims, Christians, or Jews, if they were very religious and were opposed to LGBTQ, they could say that their kids did not have to listen to the teachers.
So what this decision says is that parents have a right under the Constitution, if they have a religious objection to these particular texts, right, not to pull them out of the class entirely, but the students don't have to read these books or the like. It'll be up to, I suppose, the school districts in the first instance to figure out how to implement this. This is not a surprise, this decision out of a conservative court that has been moving to expand free exercise rights substantially in recent years. I think the real question is, how broadly is it written? How broadly does this precedent now sweep going forward? It's not so much just about the opt-out rights from this particular book or that particular book, but does this include, for example, instruction on evolution in scientific classrooms, in high schools, in public schools? And that we'll have to read the opinion to find out to some extent. But that's the real sort of underlying stakes here.
Again, just like with the deportation stuff, it's about the agenda being saved, not about the good and how the kids are being educated. They don't care about the kids. Oh my gosh, the agenda. We can't ram this stuff down people's throats. Parents can actually say, hey, I don't want my kid hearing about this. I don't want my kids being, subject to somebody talking to them about butt plugs. That's not what they're saying. To me, that exposes the sickness of the Democrat Party, and now you're seeing it on display, and they don't even realize they're doing it. She didn't mention what was good for the children. What is good for the child, the student? Nope, we're not going to be able to talk to them about this stuff. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Little Johnny's not going to know what a butt plug is. This is really, really crazy. I mean, this is how the law actually was people are interpreting. The Supreme Court ruled parents are allowed to opt their children out of being indoctrinated with LGBTQ propaganda. And so, let me see if I can't pull this down so you guys can hear this too. This is from Shannon Bream as she's talking about that law. And it's just, I think what really angers me, I'll use the word anger. The thing that angers me is in both instances, they're not talking about the individuals that they supposedly care about. They're not even looking out for, what would these people actually be, how would they actually be affected? Well, pretty sure if my grandchildren don't hear about the stuff in, I don't want to say the word again, you know what I mean. They're not affected at all. Who actually is affected by you not bringing in Drag Queen Story Hour? Who's affected by you not telling us what that flag over there means? Who really is affected? You think little Johnny and Sally care? No. They want to eat, sleep, poop, and play with video games. It doesn't affect their lives whatsoever. Whose life does it affect? It affects the Democrat agenda. And that's the problem they're having. Let me go ahead and show you this by Shannon Bream as she's talking about it. And as you watch news today, if you turn into any of the news, I want you to, actually understand what you're hearing. So you can pick up, find out the first time you hear them talking about children or the newcomers and how it affects their quality of life. They don't give a shit. They don't care. It's the agenda that's damaged at this point.
Regarding religious liberty and whether parents should be informed and be able to opt their children out from reading books in the classroom that go against their faith. Shannon Bream is at the Supreme Court. We were watching for this one. What's the verdict?
We were, Dana. So this brought together a coalition of parents of different religious faiths and backgrounds who said there used to be a rule in this particular school district that would let them know when there were books that dealt with issues that may be in conflict with their religious faith. Well, so many parents were opting out that the school board and the school district quit doing it. Well, 6-3 today in a decision by Justice Alito, they said these parents have earned at least a preliminary injunction. So while this case plays out, they said the board has to notify them about a book that's in question or anything similar so that their kids can be excused if it's in conflict with their faith. He says, as we've explained, without that, parents are left this choice: either risk their child's exposure to burdensome instruction or pay substantial sums for alternative educational services. Because at one point, Justice Jackson, during the arguments, had said, why don't they just go to a different school? Why don't you put them in private school or homeschool them? Justice Alito and others saying that's not practical for a lot of people. The dissent by Justice Sotomayor, joined by Justices Kagan and Jackson, says today's ruling threatens the essence of public education. She says it's not about bringing kids together to learn about a particular faith, but a range of concepts and views that reflect our entire society. Exposure to new ideas has always been a vital part of that project until now. The dissenters didn't think that the parents should get the opt-out. Justice Alito and the majority say they should.
Don't care. They're losers. Doesn't matter what they think at this point. This is a glorious day for conservatives, and it's nothing but a decimation for the people on the left. Their pillars are falling apart in front of them.